and the Amazonian lies a surprising and unknown Peru that have large coastal dunes inhabited by pelicans, blue-footed boobies, and sea lions. And that's even more secret of the dry equatorial forest, where a bear, unlike no other, is hiding. A shy creature that lives high up in the trees and that very few men have managed to approach, the Andean bear. Let's go for a Peru off the beaten tracks. My name is Olivier Houalet. For the last 15 years, I've been living in Namibia with cheetahs and rubbing shoulders with the main big cats in Africa. I've decided to set out on a quest for the last free animals that still live in total freedom. But nowadays, finding their wild paradises means traveling to the most remote regions on this planet, far from man. Dune rampart that covers over 750 square kilometers has always kept humans at bay. To the west, the Pacific Ocean that stretches out as far as Asia. And to my left, far away, the foothills of the Andes. These beaches and coves shelter an unbelievable diversity of animals. Here, the marine mammals cohabit with dozens of bird species. South of the Sechura Desert, the Illescas Peninsula is my starting point for this new exploration of the last wild Edens on our planet. Starting out from the desert beaches of the Pacific coast, I will continue inland to the arid forests of the Chapari region. No boat, no vehicle is allowed inside the protected area of Illescas. Cormorants, frigate birds, pelicans. Everywhere you look, nothing but birds all around. Exceptionally, condors may be sighted gliding down the Andean summits. Hunted by man, this large vulture has deserted the coastline. Nowadays, it is claiming back these isolated spaces. Oh, there is a terrible smell of urine. It comes from here. Actually, the top of this cliff is covered with a thick layer of bird excrements. This is what they call guano. There on the cliff, it's a colony of blue-footed boobies. I'm gonna try to approach them. They are quite funny with their big round eyes. As a matter of fact, this is how you can tell the difference between male and female. The pupil of the male is much smaller than the female. If their feet seem disproportionate to their body, it's because they play an essential role. During the nesting period, they cover the eggs up completely, and a strong blood flow maintains a constant temperature at 39 degrees. The characteristic of the blue-footed boobies is obviously the color of their feet. It's a massive weapon of seduction. A dark blue color is sign of a good diet and good health. So it's a tool that the male will show off shamelessly when the females look for the booby of their life and a future father. The little group standing apart is the juveniles band. They are easily recognizable with their white head and red eyes, but especially with their gray feet that show they haven't reached sexual maturity yet. The region of Illescas is incredibly rich. Here, the coastal fauna lives in a unique ecosystem, created by the conjunction of warm air masses coming down from the North Pacific and the Humboldt Current, an ocean stream that travels down from the Antarctic. It pulls up from the depths of the ocean huge water masses full of plankton and fish. This attracts all kinds of predators, in the air and sea alike. The Humboldt Current is just 1% of the planet's water, but it concentrates 10% of worldwide fishing. Every year, 6 to 8 million tons of fish come out of the fishermen's nets. But here, animals don't only enjoy food aplenty. Coastal islets, holes in the rocks, gigantic cliffs that can reach 40 meters high, each of these offer a multitude of habitats for the shoreline fauna. Really wild here. I love it. Oh, there is a cave. I'm gonna have a look. It's a small penguin brooding. Actually, I can't be sure if it's a male or a female, because during the nesting period, they will both take turns. When one is sitting on the egg, the other one is in search of food. This will last for about 40 days. But these animals are quite sensitive to stress, so I'm not gonna stay too long. I'm out of here. In fact, it's a small Humboldt penguin. This is the only species you can find in the region. And this is good news, because if they are nesting here, the rest of the colony shouldn't be far. Along these beaches, it's usually best to live in hiding like the penguins do. Red-headed king vultures and desert foxes are always cruising, searching for a nest to plunder or a beached carcass. It's fascinating. All the rocks here are covered with guano. So you can imagine the quantity of birds that live here. This small group of penguins settle on this rock after a fishing day. Here, they are safe, away from sea lions. They are Humboldt penguins, a very rare species. They have almost disappeared during the last century, victims from the intensive fishing and the destruction of their nesting sites. Actually, these birds build their nest with their excrement, the guano, a natural fertilizer, regularly looted. If they look a little clumsy on the ground, when they are in the water, they are real rockets. They can swim at 50 kilometers per hour. They are going to spend the night here, and it's also time for me to go. Not a single raindrop in 7 years. But here, the vegetation can benefit from the humidity that blankets the desert every night. I would have loved to set up my tent on the beach, but with this wind, it's impossible. This little canyon seems to be perfect. I'm gonna be fine here, and I'll be able to fall asleep to the sound of the waves. I wonder what's going on the beach at this time. At night, the beach belongs to the crabs, and they never forget to remind trespassers, large and small, of this. All these little crabs have waited for the night to go out and escape from the birds, and now that it's low tide, they invaded the beach in search of food. So I'm actually not so lonely here at night. It's a huge colony of pelicans. So I'm approaching very slowly because they can spot me from very far. There are two kinds of pelicans in South America, the brown pelicans and the Peruvian pelicans. And what sets them apart from the other ones in the world is their dark feathers. What I like about them is their fishing strategy. They patrol like fighter planes and glide just on the edge of the waves like surfers do. The Peruvian pelican is the most endangered of the two because it lives exclusively on this shoreline, where the fishing has become more and more unpredictable, especially because of El Niño. This climatic occurrence decreases the effect of the Humboldt Current and consequently drives the fish to moving towards depths that pelicans can't reach. From afar, you could think they are rocks, but actually they are sea lions. There is one over there. I don't know what's going on with this one. He looks in terrible shape. Maybe he's wounded, or maybe he's just very old and has reached the end of his life. Okay, I'm gonna try to approach the others. They are really impressive. An adult male can weigh up to 350 kilos and measure 1.5 meters. When they become adult, they develop a mane like a lion, and that's where the name sea lions come from. There are a few colonies left on this protected coast. They are not to be confused with harbor seals, which do not have visible ears, nor flippers adapted to moving on the ground. Sea lions are much more gracious. At birth, the pups already weigh between 7 and 8 kilos. During 3 to 4 weeks, their mothers nurse them with a very rich milk, 45% fat content. They can gain up to 0.5 kilo per day and will be able to manage on their own after a month. On the ground, they have a poor eyesight and they rely on their sense of smell. So I need to stay into the wind. Shame they got scared. I will come back and I will try to approach them in the water. Thanks to their formidable beak, vultures are among the first to feast on the beached carcasses. Here, the cycle of life carries on with immutable rhythm, and each species contributes to perpetuate the food chain. I'm gonna try to approach those sea lions in their element. In the water, they seem much better and will be less shy, so I should be better accepted. The temperature of the water is less than 20 degrees, so the wetsuit is a must. To admit, my heart is beating fast. It is so much better than what I was expecting. But on the ground, they were escaping and afraid of me. In the water, I am the curiosity. I'm happy, but I feel so vulnerable. It looks like a fun experience, but in reality, I am in the middle of wild animals. And when I see them surrounding me with all their sharp teeth, I can't help thinking that they can bite me. I got what I was looking for, and I will carry this all my life. But now, it's time for me to get back on the ground. Leaving behind this faraway piece of land and continuing eastbound. I'm heading towards Chapari and its equatorial dry forest. The refuge of the spectacled bear is 150 kilometers away from Illescas, inland. Finally, I've reached this ecosystem unique to this part of the world, the dry tropical forest, also named here Bosque Seco. There is a permanent drought 9 months of the year, and the 25 degrees temperature practically never changes throughout the year. And when the clouds gather, from December to March, they only release a few millimeters of water. This region owes its name to this mountain range. Chapari is sacred and revered by the Moche, a pre-Columbian civilization that used to live here about 1,500 years ago. These stones are the remains of the wall that was surrounding it at that time. Was this 40-kilometer long wall built to protect the sacred mountain, or, on the contrary, to defend the inhabitants against the spirits that dwell there? To date, this remains an enigma. The mountains, or hapus as they are called here, are seen as mystical places, and still today, people throughout the country show deep respect for them.
Hey, my friend.
Hola.
How are you? Everything okay?
Bien.
What are you doing out here? I'm asking because I'm in charge of watching over the area.
I'm not a hunter. I'm looking for the Andean bear.
You're looking for the bear. For that, you need to climb up there, on the Chapari mountain. It's around 2 hours on foot from here.
I heard that some people were afraid to come in this area because the mountain is said to be sacred.
People have beliefs around here. They say that Chapari devours humans, but the mountain's never eaten me. One day, I was at the foot of the mountain by a river and a bear came close. When I saw it, I was surprised, and I thought, it's going to eat me up. That's what all the people around here would have thought. But when I approached, it avoided me and continued towards its mountain. It didn't hurt me at all.
Valentin has been in charge of watching over the 35,000 hectares of Chapari since he was 25. He knows every nook and cranny of this forest that he scouts daily. He is at home here, and nothing escapes his gimlet eye. No wonder he noticed me. This is a very dry region, and I am a little worried because I have no idea where to find water.
Try to find a ficus tree. You'll see it's much greener than the other trees. Once you find it, you'll have found water. Stay cautious around the animals. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Goodbye, my friend.
In this region, nature has adapted to this harsh climate. And even if the branches seem dead, actually they can stay dormant for several months. And as soon as the first rain arrives, they will cover up with buds and flowers. There are animal tracks everywhere. There is something on the ground. It's a macanchi. This is what they call this snake here. It's actually an orthony boa, a constrictor snake. It's got few assets to survive in this harsh environment. Its excellent camouflage and its capacity to stay without eating more than a month. It's a young one. An adult male can measure up to 3.5 meters. And like me, he must be looking for water. Good luck. Chapari is an ornithologist's paradise. From the giant condor to the tiny hummingbird, the area shelters over 200 bird species, 65 of which are endemic. For over 100 years, it was thought that white-winged guans were extinct. Recently rediscovered, this bird was reintroduced in the area, and since then, its population has been growing consistently to reach 250 individuals. The surprising sound this bird makes when taking flight has a very specific purpose. This is how it marks its territory. Wow, this is hard to believe. I've just entered a new world. This dry riverbed is like an ecosystem inside the ecosystem. A real oasis. It looks like wild tomatoes. This is it. They are so good and so sweet. At last the ficus and the water. Oh, that feels good. Here, the water is pure. It comes from the clouds that regularly cover the top of Chapari mountain. It is then absorbed by the ground and finally springs up here. There is a champion of survival. It's a Chapari fox, a very shy animal. It is also called the Peruvian desert fox, and it is the smallest of all the foxes, as well as the most endangered. Diet is opportunistic. It varies according to its habitat. Scavenger on the coast beaches, it feeds on dead sea lions. But here in the region, it finds the insects and the rodents to please its carnivore appetite. And if the food gets scarce, it can even become vegetarian. Unfortunately, humans have always seen him as a threat to cattle. And nowadays, even protected, it is still hunted for its fur, and the cubs are subject to intense trafficking. Here, there are animals that only come out at night. And if these creatures have been haunting man's imagination for ages, actually they are the shy ones. In Chapari, each crack in the rocks is a potential hide for these tarantulas which proliferate in the region. tarantulas belong to the wolf spider family, for their hunting strategy is to remain in ambush, when other spiders need a web to catch their prey. When it comes to eating, its weakness is the cricket. Its bite can be painful, but rarely harmful to man. Quite a strange feeling. All these legs walking on my hand. They are very soft and very light. They are quite sweet animals. And in fact, like many other animals, if you don't show any aggressivity, they will remain calm and very peaceful. What a wonderful specimen. I could almost find it beautiful. It's time to leave the valley and start climbing the sacred mountain where the spectacle bears live. What's good about traveling during the dry season is that the animals gather around the rare water spots, and now, early in the morning, the hummingbirds are enjoying their bath time. These tiny hummingbirds that live only in America are so special. These minuscule flying mechanisms hold several records. The smallest one measures only 5 centimeters and weighs less than 2 grams. The particular angle of their wings allows them to remain stationary, to do acrobatics, and even to fly backwards. In any case, they can't stay on the ground. They are apodiforms, meaning that their short feet only allow them to rest on branches. These hummingbirds are real gluttons. They eat daily about half of their body weight in sugar. They collect it from the nectar of the flowers, and to complete the diet, they also find there tiny little insects that provide them with the proteins they need to feed their incredible mechanism. Hummingbirds have beefy tongues. This means that they are divided in 2 parts at the tip. This allows these birds to collect supplies twice as fast, and to maximize efficiency, their tongues are covered with microscopic strips that capture the nectar before retracting. I hope I'll be as lucky with the bears up there. Okay, here we go. It might look a little bit cruel, but this is the best way for me to get the proteins I need. You see, when you overcome your fears, nature can become a source of inspiration. And in this case, a special thanks to the tarantulas. It's missing a little spice, but it's not bad. I won't be able to find any bears in this valley. I have to start climbing. You have to earn the right to reach bear territory. They live in rocky escarpments and high plateaus that provide a little cool and calm. It really looked easier from below. This mountain is a real challenge. This little tree did not break by itself. This is definitely bears' work. They feed on the bark, and that's why they break trees like that. Even though the bears from the Andes are smaller than the other ones, still, they are super powerful. There are claw marks here, here, there. The Andean bear is a very good climber. This is a sure fact. I'm on their territory. And on this part of the tree, the bark has been peeled off because during the dry season, food is getting scarce in this forest. And one of the last resources left to eat for the bears is the bark of this tree, which is full of sugar. Wow, it's very hard for me to move quietly. Branches are cracking under my feet. I sound like an elephant. I hear footsteps. It's right there. Over there, the rarest bear in the world. So much so that we know very little about them. This is truly an endangered animal. Even the polar bear population is higher. It's the only descendant of its line, a survivor from the Ice Age. Their name, spectacle bear, comes from the clear patterns that sometimes draw a kind of spectacles around their eyes. They are different from one individual to the other, just like an ID. Grunts, intimidation, diffusion of his scent. The palette used by the male to show off his power and mark his territory is impressive. Wow. That was close. I would have never thought I could get so close to it. But apparently, he has no interest in me. And it's better like that. Wow. This is amazing. I've never seen that in my life. A bear so agile and perched in a tree. In fact, this is where they spend most of their day. And the main reason, it's because they are almost vegetarians. Unlike other bears, mostly carnivores or omnivores. In these trees, they build platforms, up to more than 15 meters high. And this is where sometimes they spend their night. They play a vital role for the sustainability of this forest. Perpetually in search of food, they break and snap branches, and just like tree trimmers, they further the growth of this forest. Oh, there it goes again. I'm gonna try to follow it. I am so lucky. This is what I thought. There were more than one bear. And these two, they look smaller. They are probably younger. They seem to have lots of fun together. Apparently, it was their mother that I saw earlier. With bears, it's the female that raises her young alone. But they don't cohabit for very long, maximum 2 years. And I have the feeling that these two are just about to live their life on their own. Spectacle bears are very solitary animals that only mingle in springtime during the mating season. But their reproduction depends on the abundance of food available. Bears are very territorial, and each individual needs at least 10 square kilometers to live. If this rule is not respected, the spectacle bear might disappear. The Andean bear has no predator, and the only threat it faces is cohabitation with humans. Like the fox, it is considered noxious when it attacks cattle, but it is also hunted for its meat and fur. As it is the case for many other endangered species, their territory shrinks along with deforestation. In Chapari, they are protected, but in the rest of Latin America, their future is more uncertain. The dry equatorial forest is a treasure of the planet, a rare site where a unique ecosystem has developed. But the many endemic species it shelters are living on borrowed time. The slightest climate change or the smallest plots of forest stolen by man could have irreversible consequences. And the day that the spectacled bear, the Mackenzie boa, and all of the rare species that have found refuge there disappear from Chapari, they will simply have been eradicated from the surface of our planet.